Behind these green faces are men who have accepted the challenge of some of the most daring assignments given to American fighting men. These are the Navy's SEALs. SEAL teams were organized at the suggestion of President John Kennedy, who realized that it would take special operations to win special kinds of war. For years, the existence of these teams was a Defense Department secret. Now, parts of their story can be told.
The execution of my duties will be swift and violent when required, yet guided by the very principles that I serve to defend. Brave men have fought and died building the proud tradition and feared reputation that I am bound to uphold. In the worst of conditions, the legacy of my teammates steadies my resolve and silently guides my every deed. I will not fail.
But I was hooked. Yeah. And from that moment on, it was every piece of information that I could find. It's all I wanted to do. It was like a magnetizing force. I don't have the vocabulary to describe it. People who don't come from our worlds, it's very uncommon for them to hear that, but you know as well as I do, the SEAL teams is full of people with the same narrative.
You know, for me, it was and I know this might sound weird, but it was my lifelong dream to be in combat and to be in a leadership position in combat.
I thought that being a SEAL would solve all of my life's problems.
I wanted to be a gunfighter. That was it. I wanted to be a Navy SEAL.
This nation has proven before and will again, through bold operations, it will never quit. It will do everything to protect its people and preserve freedom. I have a tattoo on my left arm. I got it right before I departed the Navy. Again, I love quotes. It's my favorite quote. When President Bush addressed the world on 9/11, he said, "Freedom itself was attacked this morning by a faceless coward, and freedom will be defended."
In times of war or uncertainty, there is a special breed of warrior. Forged by adversity, he stands alongside America's finest special operations forces to serve his country, the American people, and protect their way of life. I am that man.
Okay, got the red smoke. Gun run, north or south, west of the smoke. Okay, copy, west of the smoke. I'm looking at danger close now. Come on with it, baby, give it to me, I need it. Get cleared hot. Copy, cleared hot.
I don't know if I'm stuck in the station, but I have felt my entire life as if I'm constantly trying to play catch up or keep up with the people that I was surrounded by. The SEAL community was absolutely everything that I thought it was going to be, and then so much more. And so to get to a place where you're not going to fail, you have to fail a lot, and you have to fail often, and it has to hurt, and it has to leave a mark.
What drew you to wanting to join the team?
God damn it. I hate this question.
Please welcome the purveyor of lessons learned the hard way, Andy Stumpf.
Andy Stumpf.
Andy Stumpf. Andy Stumpf.
Yeehaw! Andy Stumpf. We're here, ladies and gentlemen. What is the best military movie that's the most accurate or the least offensive?
Navy SEALs starring Charlie Sheen.
Here, I need this.
Really? No, not at all.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
You know, if I look at how I live my life out of the military, it's actually very similar to how I lived my life when I was in. Attention to detail, the focusing on the process instead of the outcome, time and effort and energy needed to prepare physically and mentally. Every skill that I possess, that I've ever possessed, is much like fitness. If you work out really hard, your fitness level is going to increase, but what happens as soon as you stop working out, you plateau and it starts going down. I mean, I understand that it's high consequence and that it's high risk and that there's matters of life and death and decisions that are being made, but that's where I want to be. This is what I came to do, to fight for the values that I believe in and to fight for people who can't fight for themselves. And yeah, it was awesome.
And at one point there, you kind of got a little setback.
Yeah, I equated to going to Vegas, and you can play craps for a really long time, and you can be on a great heater, and then at 7's going to come up and bite you, and hopefully you don't have a lot of chips on the table.
I got shot from about 15 feet away by a guy in a window that I didn't see. I heard a crack, and the round hit me high up on the hip and spun me. And then this is the only time I've ever felt it in my life, the true sensation of time slowing down. It was almost like the movies. It's probably the only thing I can say was ever like the movies, but it's slow. And that's where I got to the place of feeling like I was a race car doing 500 miles an hour, dumping the transmission into reverse and watching it just detonate all over the racetrack. And it was tough. Wasn't in a great phase of my life, so I was, of course, washing those down with massive amounts of alcohol, taking 3 to 4 Ambien, staying awake because my tolerance to all that stuff was so high. And the last thing I ever want to do is go through that again. So I'm going to stay away from the spinning magnets. And just towards the tail end of that, I went to a training command where I was the operations officer and oversaw all the training that was going on. And throughout that, I also started working for CrossFit. And in doing so, started public speaking. Why did I start working for CrossFit? Because I was using it as the methodology to recover from getting shot. It got me used to public speaking. It introduced me to Tate Fletcher, who's the person who introduced me to Joe Rogan, who's the person who told me I should start a podcast. Then when I got out of the military, I was introduced to brands that wanted to support me in the things that I wanted to do. So I started skydiving more recreationally, which led me to base jumping, which led me to my first endorsement and sponsorship deals. All of those right-hand turns can be drawn back to that night on Target, and there's just no way that I could have seen that in that night. It's in the rearview mirror now that I look and realize that's probably one of the best things that's ever happened to me.
Three, 2, 1, execute! Osama!
During that time, we did the Rescue the Lone Survivor. We rescued Captain Phillips, which wasn't in Afghanistan. A bunch of tours in Iraq. And then I was on the team that killed bin Laden. I actually killed him.
Robert O'Neill. Deployed as a Navy SEAL more than a dozen times, 400 combat missions, 4 different theaters of war. He was decorated more than 52 times. He's received 2 Silver Stars, 4 Bronze Stars with Valor. Holy cow. Joint Service Commendation Medal with Valor, 3 Presidential Unit Citations, and a Navy Marine Corps Commendation Medal with Valor.
You know, people ask me all the time, weren't you afraid on some of these missions? Yeah. So what? It's okay to be afraid, it's natural, because fear is healthy. Fear makes you think more clearly.
And, you know, justice does need to be served, but a lot of people, they don't need to see what it looks like. It's not pretty.
We put the snipers down when we got there to watch them, make sure nothing unsafe happens as we're preparing for the rescue. And as we were preparing for the rescue, something very unsafe, and they shot. It was just boom, boom, boom. So we flew back to Virginia Beach, and they brought 28 of us into a room. They said, all right, you guys are here because this is not a drill. This is real. We found a thing, and this thing is in a house. And this house is in a bowl, and this bowl is in a country. And you guys are you're gonna go get this thing, and you're gonna bring it back to us and show it to us. I'm known for morale. I want to keep morale high, crack jokes, have fun. But guys were joking around the table one night, and I said, you guys realize this is a one-way mission. We're not coming back from this one.
Copy that.
And you know, we're like 90 minutes in, or 80 minutes into a 90-minute flight, and we bank to the south, and it's like, wow, I'm on this mission, we're on this mission, we're gonna fucking kill him. The breacher said, all right, failed breach, this is bad. He said, no, this is good. That's a fake door. Nobody does that. He's in there.
Execute.
Go!
This is Echo 05 moving to level 2.
The woman that found bin Laden said, I don't know what it looks like inside, but There will be a stairwell going to the second floor, and you will run into Khalid bin Laden. And he's 20 years old, that's bin Laden's son, and that is his last line of defense. He will be armed on the stairwell. And she was so badass, she said, here's the way she put it, if you can ace him, you get a shot at the big guy.
Osama!
Got a possible jackpot.
Roger that, possible jackpot.
Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda.
I hear the President of the United States say Osama bin Laden. I look at Osama bin Laden, and I thought, how in the world did I get here from Butte, Montana?
Damn, dude.
I know you've been here before. No surprises settle the score. I know the darkness deep inside. Reckless rage, poison pride. I know the anger, I know the pain, and I know the fear we do not name. How do you win?
Jocko Willink.
Jocko Willink.
Jocko Willink.
Jocko Willink, #1 New York Times best-selling author.
I credit my mentor, Jocko Willink, for teaching me the principles that it takes to win.
Author of the mega bestseller, Extreme Ownership, How U.S. Navy SEALs Lead and
I remember
Win.
seeing Jocko. He had his war face on, so he didn't talk to me.
Jocko wakes up with his war face on.
Take ownership. Take extreme ownership. Don't make excuses. Don't blame any other person or any other thing. Take ownership of your mission. Take ownership of your job, of your team, of your future, and take ownership of your life. Now, if you're gonna go to war, you've gotta have the will. And that will comes in two forms. Number one is the will to kill. And you have to be willing to die, because when you go to war, there's gonna be American kids that are not gonna come home.
Whenever I face anything that's challenging, whenever anything sucks, I like it. I like it.
And he'd say, boss, we got this and that and the other thing. And I'd look at him and I'd say, good.
When a team takes ownership of its problems, the problems get solved.
Are you yourself afraid of death?
No. Motivation is a feeling that comes and goes, and it doesn't matter whether it's there or not. Discipline is infinitely more important. So no matter how you feel, get up and do what you're supposed to do. The contrast comes when you go to my next deployment, the next deployment to Ramadi, which was completely different. On that deployment, everything bad that can happen to a guy in a leadership position or an element happens. When you are lucky enough to experience a war, you can get very jaded because you can see that human beings can be abhorrent creatures. You can begin to question if there's really any good at all, and it can become dark. I looked up at the board slowly. I didn't want to see the name, but there it was. Charlie 1-4, Mark Lee. Mark proved that there was light and good.
is through. I know you. I know you. Wow!
Ladies and gentlemen, the newest NASA astronaut, Jonathan Kim.
Dr. Jonathan Kim.
Astronaut, doctor, PhD.
There is no such thing as a perfect human, but this guy gets pretty damn close.
That guy makes me feel like shit.
He decided when he was 16 he wanted to become a Navy SEAL. He goes into the Navy SEALs, he becomes a combat medic as well as a sniper. After that, he goes to Harvard Medical School. Then he became an astronaut. So a lot of people are just like, whoa, who is this guy and how is he accomplishing this much on that short of time on Earth?
That scared little boy that grew up under my father's shadow, I never thought I could have been a SEAL or a doctor or an astronaut. There's no way. It was a different life and I was a different person. When I think about my life growing up, I was different. I was scared. I was a scared little boy, scared of the world, scared of relationships, scared of talking to people, going to school, of having my own opinions, of speaking up, or fighting for what I believed is right. I was scared. I was definitely scared of my father. All I wanted to do as a kid growing up was protect my family. Protect really my mother and my brother from my father. I remember always kind of being scared to go to sleep sometimes because, there were times where being woken up with a cold glass of water to the face was what would happen, or being woken up and being asked which of my possessions I had to choose what he would break in front of me. And I understand a lot of that was just to hurt my mother, and he did a good job of doing that. I remember my father came up to me, and some of the last words he said to me was, "I'm sorry, Jonathan." And he pepper sprayed my face. And then all I hear in the kitchen is my mother screaming for help and saying, "He's got a gun." Fought as hard as I could, as strong as I guess a 140-pound-year-old kid could do at the time. But I lost that fight. And I told police that I think my father's still in the house and he's in the attic. And confronted my father, and one thing led to another. I wasn't there, but shots were fired, and my father was killed. It's just a day for so many reasons that helped me be reborn into the person I wanted to become, that I've always wanted to become my entire life. And I knew from there that maybe, just maybe, I had what it took to be a SEAL. The teams, the military, it was my ticket to escape the childhood I was born into. This idea of Jonathan that people had knew as a scared little boy. I needed a reset button, and the military was my reset button.
Crush them. Absolutely crush the competition. Keep going.
I am going to go through the ranks on my own merit and hard work and learn how to be led and lead others. And It was the best decision I've ever made.
What you're telling me? Negative. You sure you want to be here?
Yes, I do.
Are you absolutely sure?
I'm positive. I want to be clear, I was not a stellar performer, but I was middle of the pack, runner, swimmer, everything. And for me, I just wanted to make it clear I was giving my heart in everything I did. I cared so, I just wanted to put, all I was like, if I just put out.
Did you fail anything?
No. So happy to be there. I'm so happy to be starting my journey of embracing that suffering and suck. But I quickly learned that the mental preparation I needed to do for myself was to assume I was going to die, that I was already dead, and I was there to fulfill my role in the platoon as a shooter.
What did that do to you? August 2nd.
2006. You know, we lost. The actions of that day, we lost 2 really good men. I remember going on the roof and seeing Ryan lying down in a pool of his blood. And I'm not sure if I would die for my country, but I would and I will die for my brother and sister, without a doubt. And I find it very relevant today. I mean, we accept the risks of our occupation for the greater good, of what it does for society, our country, our species, and it's relevant in space exploration in NASA, what I've been honored and privileged to take a part of. And we accept the risks of what we are trying to do for the general good, of what it brings back to humanity.
At what point did you decide maybe going into space would be a good idea?
So we talk about accidents and we call it whatever we want. I have no plan. I had no plan to do any of these things. Like we talked about, I had no plan to be a doctor. It's just something that came out of deployment of Ramadi, of seeing the compassion and the good that physicians and nurses were doing. Serving with humility, remembering the sacrifices of others, respecting everyone, not taking things for granted. It was completely consistent with my goals that I promised Mikey, Mark, Ryan, long list of our brothers who are not here with us today, that I would, for the rest of my life, do something to impact positive good in our world. I am not a genius by any means. I consider myself very average, physically, mentally. It's just that I feel that I can stick with the goals and have deferred gratification to help support me for my goals. That's it.
I started that fight with all my friends and all my gear. By the end of it, 3.5 hours later, I was butt naked and all my gear was gone, all my friends were dead. The thing on the mountain is when we were falling, like in the movie, it kind of looks sexy while they're doing that. In real life, it's not. I was in a hole in Afghanistan, all my friends were dead, and I was naked dying. And now I'm sitting right here with you. So you can't tell me that the hardest part of your day is not going to reveal the best part of it. You just don't know when that's coming.
Today we we have the amazing opportunity to talk to a true hero and a true man of commitment, Marcus Luttrell.
In June 2005, Marcus Luttrell was one of 4 SEALs hunting the Taliban in Afghanistan. When his team was ambushed, he saw all 3 of his comrades die.
Like, they just kept coming. So much so, I was so busted up that I didn't know what to do. I was scared to death.
I was on the back side of this ridge. I was upside down. I was paralyzed from the waist down. So I just rolled over and belly crawled into the side of the cliff.
And I remember seeing this little pool of water, and I was like, oh, that'd be a great place to get something to drink. And I mean, right over my left shoulder, probably 30 yards, not even that. I hear, American, American. And I kind of turned around, and it was Gulag, one of the main villagers who rescued me. And they had moved me. They had to carry me. I couldn't walk. And they pulled me into this room, and they started kind of doctoring. They doctored me up, stopped my bleeding, patched me up, gave me all the water I could drink. Like a wall would blow up, or a bullet would sit through the wall. And then they'd have to move me. I was like, man, I'm a foreign man in a foreign land. Everybody's dead. I mean, who knows where I'm at? I was in hell. I was literally in hell. And if it wasn't for them, I mean, and the way that whole thing worked out, it's funny when I talk about it. It's hard to wrap your head around it, right? Like, man, why am I even sitting here? I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it when y'all showed up. I signed up to be an expendable asset, to die if necessary. That was the sexiest thing I ever heard of. I was nobody. I don't have a special skill. I was an expendable asset, and you work till you become dependable, and they'll kind of keep you around. So when y'all showed up, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. My blessing was that I don't ever hold a grudge. I don't. Like, if we go through something, we get over it, we're good, let's just get through it, right? But then, if you kill my friends, if you hurt my friends, I have a problem with that. Like, I don't like that at all. I think about, like, hey man, them guys paid the ultimate sacrifice. If you come down here to learn how to live while you're dying, I was like, they got checked out early, which means they did a good job. I'm still working on mine.
Is there also that emotional thing that people talk about all the time, that survivor's guilt as to why are you the one who survived?
Well, I died on that mountain too, sir.
Whiplash, good copy. Request fire support. Push it to your location at 15 miles.
I'm willing to meet my creator and answer for every shot that I took.